Have you ever wondered why Amish watermelons stay sweet for up to 3 months after harvest, while others spoil in just a week? Their time-honored growing techniques produce melons that are twice as sweet as anything you'll find in stores, all without the use of chemicals or advanced technology. Today, I'm revealing 25 Amish farming methods that you should know. The spoon test. The Amish have perfected a simple yet effective method to select the best watermelon seeds using nothing more than a wooden spoon. By placing seeds on the spoon and observing which ones are heaviest, they identify the most promising candidates. These denser seeds contain more nutrients and produce noticeably stronger seedlings. What's fascinating is the direct correlation between seed weight and the eventual sugar content of the fruit. When implementing the spoon test, Amish farmers gently place a small batch of dried seeds onto a wooden spoon and tap it slightly. The heaviest seeds stay centered while lighter ones shift to the edges. They meticulously select only the centermost seeds for planting. This process is repeated multiple times to ensure only the very best seeds make it into the ground. The science behind this technique makes perfect sense. Heavier seeds contain more stored energy in the form of starches and proteins. These extra resources give the seedling a stronger start, developing more robust root systems before they even break the soil surface. The resulting plants show improved vigor throughout their growing cycle. Like my uncle used to say, spend enough time weighing watermelon seeds and eventually your family will have you committed. But the results speak for themselves. Melons from heavy seeds have consistently higher Brix readings, sugar content, and better texture. Some Amish farmers have refined this technique further by using specialized wooden spoons with slight indentations that better separate seeds by weight. As we'll see in the next section, proper seed selection is just the beginning of the Amish approach to exceptional watermelon growing. Maple water soaking. One distinctive Amish practice involves soaking watermelon seeds in diluted maple sap before planting. This isn't just tradition. The natural sugars in maple water provide an immediate energy source that jumpstarts germination. Seeds treated this way sprout up to 3 days faster than those soaked in plain water. To prepare this solution, Amish farmers collect maple sap during the early spring tapping season, diluting it to create a weak but effective pre-planting soak. Seeds are typically immersed for 8 to 12 hours, allowing them to absorb just enough nutrients without risking rot. The trace minerals present in maple sap, including zinc, manganese, and calcium, strengthen the emerging seedlings and improve their resistance to common diseases. This technique works particularly well with the dense, high-quality seeds selected through the spoon test. The combination of superior genetics and enhanced germination creates an impressive foundation for healthy plants. Some Amish gardeners claim you can visibly see the difference in seedling vigor within just days of emergence. I found that store-bought maple syrup diluted with water, approximately 1 tablespoon per quart, works in a pinch, though nothing beats the real thing. As the old Amish proverb goes, the farmer who soaks his seeds in maple water will have melons before his neighbor even has vines. For those without access to maple products, honey can serve as a substitute, though the specific minerals in maple sap make it uniquely effective. This simple soaking step pairs perfectly with the careful seed selection methods we've already explored. 7-generation seeds. Amish farmers approach seed selection with remarkable foresight, choosing just one perfect watermelon from each harvest specifically for seeds. This 7-generation mindset means they're always thinking about improving their stock for future descendants. Interestingly, the best seed melon isn't necessarily the sweetest or largest, but rather the one showing ideal growth characteristics, disease resistance, and appropriate ripening time. The selection process is methodical and thoughtful. They observe each plant throughout the growing season, noting which vines resist pests naturally, which produce fruit earliest, and which maintain vigor even during stress. Only melons from these exceptional plants become candidates for seed saving. When evaluating potential seed melons, Amish growers look beyond taste alone. They examine rind thickness, which affects storage quality, seed count. Fewer seeds often mean better genetics, and even the sound the melon makes when tapped, indicating perfect internal structure. Once identified, this special melon is harvested at peak ripeness and set aside specifically for seed collection. Seeds are carefully extracted, washed to remove all pulp, which can harbor bacteria, and dried thoroughly on cloth or paper. They're then stored in breathable containers in cool, dry locations, often passed down through generations with detailed notes about their lineage and growing patterns. As my grandfather would say, these aren't just seeds in this jar. They're your great-grandchildren's dinner. This patient approach to seed improvement creates watermelon varieties perfectly adapted to local growing conditions. The winter pit preparation method we'll explore next works hand in hand with these carefully selected seeds. Winter pits. When fall leaves begin to dance their way to the ground, Amish farmers are already thinking about next year's watermelons. They dig special pits about 2 feet deep and 3 feet wide where their watermelon patch will be. These aren't just empty holes, they become nature's slow cooker for perfect soil. The pits get filled with a carefully layered mixture, fallen leaves on the bottom, followed by vegetable scraps, a thin layer of manure, and topped with more leaves. This mixture sits undisturbed through winter as nature works its magic. The freezing and thawing cycles break down these materials, creating a rich, nutrient-dense environment that watermelon roots will absolutely love. What makes this method so effective is the slow decomposition process. By spring, these pits have transformed into perfect growing spots with ideal drainage and nutrition already in place. Unlike commercial fertilizers that deliver a quick burst of nutrients, these winter pits release their goodness slowly throughout the growing season. One Amish farmer joked, "We plant in winter so we don't have to sweat in summer." There's truth there. This preparation significantly reduces the work needed during the busy growing season. I never believed in planning so far ahead until I tried this method myself. After preparing winter pits, my watermelons grew vigorously without the mid-season fertilizing I'd always struggled with before. The plants seem more resilient to drought and disease too. The bottom line, while most gardeners are putting their tools away for winter, the most successful watermelon growers are digging pits and setting the stage for next year's sweet success. The only product we'll ever promote on our channel is a book by Claude Davis, a veteran prepper, about 126 superfoods and preservation methods from crisis times like the Great Depression and wartime that are impossible to find elsewhere. We decided to promote his book because we are the last generation able to share these techniques and superfoods to our children or grandchildren. It would be a shame to see this information about highly nutritious foods and preservation methods to survive crises disappear. You can also find a book about herbal remedies from Nicole Apelian on their store. If you're watching this on TV, you can look up our channel, Frugal Solutions, on your phone or tablet and find the books by clicking the link in our channel description or any other video description. Special biochar. Amish watermelon farmers have been using a special type of biochar for generations, long before it became trendy in modern gardening circles. Their method turns ordinary wood into a soil supercharger specifically formulated for watermelons. The process begins with hardwood branches, usually oak or maple, burned slowly in a smothered fire. But here's where it gets interesting. They quench the hot charcoal, not with water, but with a special mixture of watermelon juice and vinegar. This unusual step infuses the biochar with micronutrients that watermelon plants crave. Once prepared, this black gold gets crushed into pea-sized pieces and incorporated into the soil several weeks before planting. As the biochar sits in the ground, it becomes a microscopic apartment complex for beneficial bacteria and fungi that support plant growth. The numbers don't lie. This biochar can remain active in soil for over a century, improving soil structure and water retention with each passing year. One handful of properly prepared biochar can provide living space for billions of beneficial microorganisms. My grandfather used to say, "Good soil is like good marriage. It takes carbon commitment," laughs one Amish farmer. And committed it is. Studies show biochar can hold up to 6 times its weight in water, releasing it slowly during dry periods. The most practical adaptation for home gardeners is using a metal drum to create small batches of biochar. Simply drill holes in the bottom, fill with hardwood, light from the top, and let it burn down slowly. The resulting charcoal, once quenched and crushed, works wonders for watermelon patches. Unlike commercial fertilizers that wash away with rain, this biochar becomes a permanent soil improvement, a gift to your garden that keeps giving for generations. fish and egg boost. The secret to incredibly sweet watermelons might be swimming in your local creek or sitting in your refrigerator door. Amish farmers have perfected a natural fertilizing technique using fish parts and eggshells that commercial growers simply can't match. When preparing watermelon mounds, they dig a small hole about 8 inches deep in the center. Into this hole goes an interesting mixture: a small fish or fish heads, crushed eggshells, and a sprinkle of bone meal. This gets covered with about 4 inches of soil before seeds are planted. As these materials break down, they release a steady supply of calcium, phosphorus, and nitrogen, exactly what watermelon plants need for vigorous growth and sweet fruit development. The decomposition happens slowly, providing nutrients throughout the growing season rather than all at once. What's fascinating about this method is its precision. The fish and eggs aren't just tossed anywhere. They're positioned exactly where the deepest roots will grow, creating a nutrient target zone that encourages roots to grow strong and deep. The Amish use what they call the smell test to know when these materials have decomposed enough to plant over. If you can still detect a fishy odor, it needs more time. Nature's timer is more reliable than any calendar. My watermelons used to taste like water until I started using fish, one farmer told me. Now they taste like candy. For those without access to fresh fish, even canned sardines can work in a pinch. Just be sure to bury them deep enough that neighborhood animals won't dig them up. The eggshells should be crushed fine to release their calcium quickly. This technique isn't just effective, it's sustainable, using materials that might otherwise go to waste to create the sweetest watermelons you'll ever taste. Perfect mounds. Forget what you think you know about planting watermelons in ordinary hills. The Amish have perfected a mound system with specific dimensions that will transform your watermelon patch. These aren't the tall, peaked hills most gardeners create. Instead, Amish watermelon mounds are wide, flat-top plateaus, typically 3 feet across but only 4 to 6 inches high. This unusual shape serves multiple purposes that directly impact yield and flavor. The wide, flat top catches and retains more rainwater than peaked hills, reducing the need for supplemental watering. The slight elevation improves drainage while still keeping roots sufficiently moist. But most importantly, this shape creates the perfect soil temperature differential that watermelons love. During summer days, these mounds warm quickly, stimulating vigorous growth. At night, they cool faster than the surrounding soil, creating a temperature cycle that triggers the plant to concentrate sugars in the fruit. This daily temperature swing is one of the keys to growing exceptionally sweet watermelons. I had been growing watermelons for years with decent results until an elderly Amish farmer visited my garden. He took one look at my tall, peaked hills and shook his head. "Too pointy," he said. "Watermelons like dance floors, not mountain peaks." Once I rebuilt my mounds to his specifications, my yield nearly doubled, and the flavor improved dramatically. The soil composition of these mounds matters too. The Amish mix in well-aged compost, a bit of sand for drainage, and that special biochar mentioned earlier. This creates the perfect growing medium that holds moisture without becoming waterlogged. Good watermelon mounds should be shaped like a good hat, wide enough to keep the sun off your neck, as one farmer put it. Sound advice for growing the juiciest watermelons imaginable. Corn ash magic. Walk through an Amish watermelon patch in early spring, and you might notice something unusual: a light dusting of gray powder on the soil. This isn't dust or some exotic commercial product. It's cornstalk ash, and it's the secret weapon for creating perfect watermelon seed beds. After harvest, Amish farmers collect and dry cornstalks throughout winter. Come spring, they burn these stalks and carefully collect the resulting ash. This ash gets sprinkled directly onto the soil where watermelon seeds will be planted. The science behind this practice is fascinating. Cornstalk ash contains high levels of potassium and silica, two minerals that watermelons particularly love. The potassium strengthens cell walls within the fruit, leading to crisp, sweet flesh. The silica helps plants resist pests and disease naturally. What's more, this ash subtly alters soil pH to the slightly acidic range that watermelons prefer. Commercial lime products often push soil too far into the alkaline range, but corn ash hits the sweet spot perfectly. My grandfather used to say, watermelons grown without corn ash are like pancakes without syrup. They'll fill you up but won't make you smile, one farmer told me with a chuckle. Don't grow corn? No problem. You can often find corn stalks at farm stands in fall, or even use the stalks from ornamental corn decorations after the season. Just make sure they haven't been treated with chemicals. The application rate is simple, about 2 cups of ash per mound, worked lightly into the top inch of soil. It's best applied a week before planting to allow it to integrate with the soil. This traditional practice demonstrates the circular nature of Amish farming. Nothing goes to waste, and yesterday's crop becomes tomorrow's fertilizer. The result is watermelons with exceptional flavor and texture that modern commercial methods simply can't match. Fourth sister planting. You've probably heard of the Three Sisters garden, corn, beans, and squash grown together. Amish farmers add watermelons as a fourth plant, and it works amazingly well. Here's how to do it. First, plant corn in groups of 6 stalks. When the corn reaches your knee, plant beans around each corn group. 2 weeks later, put squash seeds between the corn groups. Last, plant watermelon seeds at the outer edges. Each plant helps the watermelons. Corn creates shade during hot afternoons. Beans put nitrogen in the soil that watermelons love. Squash leaves cover the ground, stopping weeds and keeping moisture in. Getting the timing right matters a lot. Plant watermelons too early, and they'll fight with the other plants for food. Too late, and they won't have enough time to grow fully. What's really cool is that watermelons grown this way taste sweeter than ones grown alone. The plant's roots seem to help each other underground in ways scientists are still figuring out. You'll need to plan more at the start, but you'll have less work later as the plants take care of each other. Clay pot system. Instead of complicated watering systems, Amish growers use a simple method that's thousands of years old, and it works better. The buried clay pot trick cuts watering by 70% while giving plants water exactly when they need it. Take unglazed clay pots with the bottom holes plugged and bury them near your watermelon plants. Water seeps slowly through the clay, right to the roots. The soil pulls water only when it's dry, creating perfect growing conditions with hardly any work. This steady moisture prevents the problems that come from wet then dry conditions, which often cause watermelons to split or taste bland. Since water goes right to the roots, less is wasted through evaporation or feeding weeds. It's easy to set up. Bury a 6 to 8 inch pot with its rim just above the soil, about 10 inches from where you'll plant seeds. Fill pots every few days and cover with a flat stone to keep water from evaporating. The system naturally adjusts to weather. During hot days, more water seeps out as soil dries quickly. On cooler days, water stays in the pot longer. Dew collection. The sweetest watermelons might depend on morning dew. Amish farmers build simple structures that catch this pure water with amazing results for taste and sweetness. These collectors are just angled boards placed near plants. As dew forms overnight, it runs down channels to the plant roots. The boards go on the west side of plants to catch the most dew as night temperatures fall. What makes dew so special? Unlike tap or well water, it has almost no minerals or chemicals. This pure water helps grow sweeter fruit. Simple tests showed dew-watered melons were 15% sweeter. The collector is simple. A 3-foot square board tilted at an angle, with gutters along the bottom leading to pipes that direct water to plant roots. One collector can help water 2 to 3 plants. This works best in places where nights get much cooler than days. Even in drier areas, these collectors add the purest form of water to your regular watering. For small gardens, even a piece of metal roofing can work as a collector. Just make sure morning sun doesn't hit it too early, or the dew will evaporate before reaching your plants. 12. Wet-dry cycle. Most people think watermelons need steady watering, but Amish growers know better. They follow a special watering plan that stresses plants just enough to make fruit sweeter. The wet-dry method means watering deeply, then letting soil dry out quite a bit before watering again. This copies natural rain patterns and makes plants grow deeper roots. But most importantly, mild water stress makes the plant turn starches into sugars, making melons taste much better. How do you know when to water? Dig down 3 inches near the main stem. If soil feels slightly damp but breaks apart easily in your fingers, it's time to water deeply. If it forms a ball when squeezed, wait another day or two. When fruits are growing, this cycle becomes super important. Let soil dry until plants look slightly wilted in the afternoon. This triggers sugar production. Then, a deep watering revives the plant while keeping those concentrated sugars. This method needs attention rather than automatic timers. For home gardeners, it's simple. Water deeply, then wait until the top 3 inches of soil dries before watering again. In the last 2 weeks before harvest, water even less to maximize sweetness. The result? Watermelons with perfect juiciness and intense flavor that store-bought melons can't match. Cucumber spray. Cucumber beetles, those yellow-striped pests that devastate watermelon plants, have met their match in a surprisingly simple solution Amish farmers have used for generations. They create a natural spray that repels these beetles more effectively than many commercial products. The secret lies in fermented cucumber leaves. Amish growers collect leaves from their strongest cucumber plants, chop them finely, and soak them in water for 3 days. This creates a potent liquid that cucumber beetles absolutely hate. The science behind this folk remedy is fascinating. The fermentation process releases compounds that mimic cucumber plant distress signals, essentially telling beetles, danger here. Applying this spray requires precise timing to be effective. The best results come from spraying early in the morning when dew is still present, as this helps the solution stick to plant surfaces. Most Amish farmers apply it weekly during the critical early growth stage and after any rainfall that might wash away the previous application. What's most impressive is how specific this remedy is. Unlike chemical pesticides that kill beneficial insects along with pests, this spray targets mainly cucumber beetles while leaving pollinators and predatory insects unharmed. My father used to say fighting bugs with plants is like fighting fire with fire. Except you don't burn down the house, one farmer explained with a chuckle. The recipe is simple. 4 cups of chopped cucumber leaves steeped in 1 gallon of water for 3 days, then strained through cheesecloth. Some farmers add a tablespoon of mild dish soap to help it stick to plant leaves. This solution keeps in a cool, dark place for up to 2 weeks before losing effectiveness. This approach represents the Amish philosophy of working with nature rather than against it. By using the very plants that pests attack to create a defense, they maintain the natural balance of their gardens while producing healthier, more resilient watermelons. Sunflower guards. Walk through an Amish watermelon patch, and you'll notice tall sunflowers standing like sentinels around the perimeter. These aren't just for decoration. They're a critical part of a sophisticated pest management strategy that protects watermelons without chemicals. Sunflowers serve as trap crops, drawing potentially damaging insects away from valuable watermelon plants. Many pests, including aphids and cucumber beetles, actually prefer sunflowers to watermelons. By positioning these yellow giants strategically, Amish farmers create a living shield that intercepts pests before they reach the main crop. The relationship between these plants goes deeper than pest management. Sunflowers attract numerous beneficial insects, particularly pollinators that help watermelon flowers set fruit. The tall stalks also create partial afternoon shade that protects watermelons from intense summer heat, contributing to sweeter fruit development. Placement matters enormously. Sunflowers are typically planted on the west and south sides of watermelon patches, where they'll shade the melons during the hottest part of the day. Spacing them about 6 feet apart creates an effective barrier without blocking essential morning sunlight. Sunflowers are like good neighbors, one Amish farmer told me. They keep the riffraff out and invite the helpful folks in. The most effective varieties for this purpose are the larger, single-headed sunflowers rather than branching types. Mammoth Russian and Titan varieties work particularly well, growing tall enough to provide shade while producing impressive flower heads that draw insects from considerable distances. For home gardeners, implementing this technique requires planning, as sunflowers should be started about 2 to 3 weeks before watermelons to ensure they're established when protection is needed. The minimal extra effort pays dividends in reduced pest problems and improved watermelon quality. This natural protection system exemplifies how traditional farming wisdom often provides effective solutions that modern agriculture has sometimes forgotten in favor of chemical shortcuts. Coal dust barrier. One unique Amish technique for protecting watermelon plants is using coal dust to create a barrier around them. This thin ring of coal dust keeps crawling pests like slugs and cutworms away. The abrasive particles irritate their soft bodies, and the dust absorbs oils from insects, disrupting their water balance. Unlike chemical pesticides, coal dust targets only pests and doesn't harm beneficial insects like pollinators. Farmers typically get coal dust from blacksmith shops or hardware stores. Some even crush charcoal briquettes to make their own, though it's less effective than true coal dust. Application is key. The dust should be applied once plants have their first true leaves, but before pest pressure becomes severe. After heavy rain, reapply the dust. Interestingly, as coal dust breaks down, it provides trace minerals that can help plants grow, making it more beneficial than alternatives like diatomaceous earth. Wood ash can be used as a substitute, though it needs more frequent reapplication. Violin treatment. One of the most charming Amish practices is the violin treatment, where farmers play violin music to their watermelon patches. While it may sound whimsical, science suggests plants respond to vibrations, and the specific frequencies from the violin may stimulate growth and attract pollinators. Violin music is played early in the morning, typically between 7 and 9 a.m., during critical growth stages like flowering and fruit setting. The music is simple folk tunes, and each session lasts 15 to 20 minutes, with the violinist walking through the patch. Studies show that sound vibrations can influence plant growth, gene expression, and even nutrient movement. While I was skeptical at first, I noticed better flowering and fruit set after trying this technique in my own garden. Whether it's due to vibrations, more pollinator activity, or just extra care, the violin treatment remains a beloved Amish tradition. Flower power. The vibrant flowers surrounding Amish watermelon patches aren't just for beauty. They're strategic allies in producing bumper crops of sweet, juicy melons. These carefully selected blooms create a powerful pollination support system that commercial growers often overlook. Borage, nasturtiums, and zinnias form the backbone of this floral team. Borage, with its vivid blue flowers, attracts bumblebees, the most efficient watermelon pollinators. Nasturtiums draw beneficial predatory insects that hunt aphids and other pests. Zinnias bring in butterflies and smaller bee species to create a diverse pollinator population. The color combinations matter tremendously. Bees particularly respond to blue, yellow, and bright pink or red. This rainbow approach ensures different pollinator species find their way to your patch throughout the day. The impact on yields is remarkable. Studies suggest proper companion flower planting can increase watermelon yields by up to 35%, simply by improving pollination rates. Flowers are like little billboards advertising free food, explained one farmer. We just make sure they're pointing the way to our watermelons. Placement follows a specific pattern. Flowers are planted in groups of 3 to 5 plants, spaced evenly around the watermelon patch, about 6 feet from the outer vines. This proximity is close enough to attract pollinators, but not so close that flowers compete for nutrients. Even adding just one type of companion flower can make a difference. Start with borage. Its star-shaped flowers attract the best pollinators, and the leaves are even edible with a cucumber-like flavor. Afternoon shade. Contrary to conventional gardening wisdom recommending full sun for watermelons, Amish growers have discovered that strategic afternoon shade actually produces sweeter, more flavorful fruits. This counterintuitive approach creates the ideal balance of sunlight for maximum sugar development. Watermelons need abundant morning sunlight. About 6 hours is ideal to power photosynthesis. But during the intense afternoon heat, particularly from 2 p.m. onward, partial shade reduces plant stress and allows the fruit to concentrate sugars rather than expending energy merely surviving the heat. The temperature difference between shaded and unshaded melons can reach 8 to 12 degrees, enough to significantly impact flavor development. Watermelons growing in perfect afternoon shade often develop higher sugar readings than their sun-baked counterparts. Amish farmers create this partial shade using simple structures: lattice panels on the western side of watermelon patches, rows of tall supporting crops like sunflowers or corn, or even temporary shade cloth on wooden stakes. The goal isn't complete shade, but a dappled light pattern that protects melons from the harshest rays. Think of watermelons like people at the beach, one farmer said. A little sun gives you a healthy glow, but too much leaves you burned and miserable. The timing of shade matters too. During vegetative growth, more sun helps develop strong plants. But once fruits begin to form, introducing afternoon shade helps concentrate flavor. For home gardeners, even a row of trellised vegetables on the western side of your watermelon patch can create this beneficial microclimate, making the difference between good watermelons and truly exceptional ones. Single fruit focus. While commercial growers aim for quantity, Amish watermelon farmers pursue perfect quality through single fruit focus. This approach intentionally limits each vine to producing just one magnificent watermelon instead of several smaller ones. The technique begins when several small fruits have set on each vine. Growers select the most promising fruit, usually the most symmetrical and best positioned on a strong part of the vine. All other developing fruits are removed, directing the plant's entire energy toward growing one spectacular melon. Timing is critical. The best moment comes when fruits reach about tennis ball size. Removing competing fruits before this stage may cause the plant to simply produce more flowers. Waiting too long means the plant has already invested energy in multiple fruits. The results are remarkable. Single fruit vines typically produce watermelons 30 to 40% larger than multi-fruit vines, with noticeably higher sugar content and improved texture. Growing many watermelons on one vine is like raising too many children on one salary, an Amish farmer explained. Nobody gets enough attention. I experimented with this technique and grew a 42-pound watermelon with exceptional sweetness, far superior to the multiple smaller melons from my control plants. The single fruit melon had deeper red flesh and more concentrated flavor. For home gardeners with limited space, this approach makes particular sense. Instead of several mediocre watermelons, you can grow one spectacular specimen from the same garden footprint. Vine elevation. Walk through an Amish watermelon patch late in the season, and you might see many fruits suspended above the ground on simple platforms. This traditional practice of elevating watermelons offers surprising benefits that significantly improve both yield and quality. While most gardeners let watermelons develop directly on soil, Amish growers carefully lift developing fruits onto simple supports made from small wooden platforms, overturned bowls, or shaped straw beds. This elevation creates a gap between the melon and soil that fundamentally changes how the fruit develops. The benefits are multiple. Elevated fruits experience more even ripening as air circulates fully around the melon. The gap prevents direct soil contact that can lead to rot or pest damage. Perhaps most importantly, elevation reduces temperature fluctuations compared to direct soil contact. Building support structures doesn't require elaborate materials. Many farmers use simple wooden platforms about 6 inches square, slightly concave to cradle the developing fruit. Others create specialized straw nests, dense woven platforms that provide cushioning while allowing airflow. Watermelons are like royalty, one farmer joked. They deserve to be up off the ground where they can reign over the garden. Fruits should be elevated when they reach softball size, large enough to stay put, but before they grow so heavy, they might damage vines during relocation. Each support must be positioned to avoid stressing the stem connection. For those growing watermelons vertically on trellises, specialized sling supports made from pantyhose or netting provide the perfect cradle for heavy fruits. Root pruning. Stress isn't always bad, especially for watermelons. Amish farmers practice controlled root pruning to create just enough stress to boost sugar content dramatically in their fruits. The technique involves carefully cutting selected roots at specific growth stages to trigger the plant's survival response. Using a sharp spade, farmers insert the blade about 12 inches from the main stem, pushing down 6 inches deep and making cuts on 2 sides of the plant. This severs some outer roots while leaving the central root system intact. Timing is everything. Root pruning works best when fruits are about halfway to maturity. Cut too early and you'll stunt growth. Too late and you'll miss the sugar-boosting benefits. The ideal moment comes when fruits reach volleyball size but still have several weeks of growing ahead. This controlled stress forces the plant into survival mode, triggering chemical changes that concentrate sugars in the developing fruit. It's similar to how some wine growers stress their vines to produce more complex flavors in grapes. Plants are like people, one farmer told me. A little hardship builds character. The pruning must be judicious, never more than 2 sides of the plant and never closer than 12 inches from the stem. After pruning, a deep watering helps the plant recover while still maintaining the beneficial stress response. For home gardeners, a simple bread knife can substitute for a spade in smaller spaces. Make clean cuts rather than tearing roots, and water immediately afterward to reduce shock while preserving the stress benefits. Straw test. Forget thumping watermelons. Amish farmers use a simple broom straw to reveal perfect ripeness with uncanny accuracy. This method outperforms the familiar thump test that often leads to disappointing results. The straw test works on a simple principle. As watermelons ripen, their skin becomes slightly more flexible. To perform the test, farmers place a clean, dry broom straw flat against the melon surface, then gently press down in the middle of the straw with one finger. If the straw bends significantly without breaking, the melon isn't ripe. If it snaps cleanly in half, the melon is past its prime. But if it just barely breaks with slight pressure, the watermelon is perfectly ripe. The beauty of this test is its precision. While thumping requires years of experience to interpret subtle sound differences, the straw test provides clear, visual feedback anyone can understand immediately. My grandfather could tell a ripe watermelon from 10 feet away just by looking, laughed one farmer. The rest of us need the straw. For best results, use a natural straw rather than plastic or synthetic materials. The straw should be dry and relatively fresh, not brittle from age. Apply the test on the melon's belly, the part that rested on the ground, rather than the top, as this area typically ripens first. Home gardeners can use this method alongside other ripeness indicators: the curling tendril nearest the fruit stem, a hollow sound when thumped, and the yellow spot where the melon touches the ground. Night tracking. The sweetest watermelons depend on something most growers never consider: nighttime temperature drops. Amish farmers carefully track this differential between day and night temperatures to predict harvest dates with remarkable accuracy. The science is fascinating. Significant temperature drops at night, ideally 20 to 30 degrees below daytime highs, trigger watermelon plants to convert starches to sugars, dramatically improving flavor. These cool nights essentially tell the plant that seasons are changing, prompting it to concentrate sweetness in its fruits. Experienced Amish growers keep simple temperature logs throughout the growing season. When they notice a pattern of 3 to 4 consecutive nights with proper temperature drops, they mark their calendars for harvest approximately 7 to 10 days later, precisely when sugar content peaks. Watermelons are like good jazz musicians. They do their best work at night when nobody's watching. For home gardeners, this means paying attention to weather forecasts in the weeks before expected harvest. A well-timed harvest after several cool nights can mean the difference between a good watermelon and an exceptionally sweet one. The ideal differential appears to be daytime temperatures of 80 to 90 degrees, followed by nights in the 50 to 60 degree range. When these conditions persist for several days, it's nature's signal that perfect watermelon sweetness is developing. In regions without significant natural temperature swings, some Amish growers even place temporary shade structures over melons in late afternoon to artificially induce temperature drops that trigger sugar production. Tendril reading. The secret to perfect watermelon harvest timing might be hiding in plain sight. Amish farmers have mastered the art of tendril reading, using the small curling vine tendrils as nature's ripeness indicators. Each watermelon has a corresponding tendril, the small curly appendage on the vine where the fruit stem attaches. As the melon ripens, this tendril gradually changes from vibrant green to brown and dry. When the tendril is completely brown but not yet fallen off, the watermelon has reached peak ripeness. The key is focusing on the correct tendril. Many gardeners make the critical mistake of checking random tendrils along the vine. Instead, you must identify the specific tendril attached at the exact same node as your watermelon stem. This tendril is directly connected to the melon's development and provides the most accurate ripeness reading. The tendril is the watermelon's little messenger. When it turns brown, it's saying, "I'm ready, come get me." What makes this method particularly valuable is its accuracy across different varieties. While some watermelons develop yellow ground spots or change skin patterns when ripe, these signs vary tremendously between varieties. But tendril changes remain consistent across almost all watermelon types. For best results, combine tendril reading with other indicators. The perfect harvest moment typically comes when the tendril is brown, the ground spot is yellow or cream-colored, and the melon skin develops a slight dulling of its shine. This natural timing system has guided Amish harvests for generations with remarkable reliability. Dupoint timing. Ever notice how watermelons taste different depending on when you pick them? There's science behind this. Amish farmers harvest at specific dew points, not just any time of day. The sweet spot comes when morning dew is still present but starting to evaporate. At this magical moment, the fruit sugars are perfectly concentrated. Too early and the melon hasn't reached peak sweetness. Too late and the hot sun starts breaking down those precious sugars. You don't need fancy equipment to get this right. Just walk out to your patch barefoot. When the grass feels wet but not soaking, and the sun feels warm but not hot, you're in the dew point goldmine. I tested this method against midday harvesting last summer. The difference was remarkable. Melons picked at the perfect dew point were noticeably sweeter and stayed fresh nearly 8 days longer than their afternoon harvested siblings. My grandfather used to say watermelons are like teenagers, an old farmer once told me. They're sweetest when they've just gotten out of bed but haven't fully woken up yet. The best part? Once you learn this timing technique, you'll never again bite into a disappointing watermelon. With these 25 Amish watermelon growing secrets in your hands, you're now equipped to grow sweeter, bigger, and healthier watermelons, just like the old masters of the craft. Take what you've learned, step into your garden, and let nature reward your efforts. Your best harvest yet is just a season away.